Hey everybody, FunshonX here. Today I'm bringing you the top 10 things that you might not know about your HTC Vive, but you should. A lot of people, they get their Vive, they set it up, and they just want to play the games. They might not bother going into the settings, and there's a lot of cool things in there that you might want to enable to make your experience a little bit better. So we're going to start easy. We're going to go things that you can do outside the Vive on your desktop, and then work into the Vive and see some settings and configuration options in there. And hope you enjoy. The first thing I'd like to show you is the identify feature, and that comes in handy if you have more than one Vive in a room. And I don't, but I was just at a meetup in Utah where we had 9 Vives in one room. It's probably a world first for that many Vives. But we had problems with controllers getting paired to the wrong Vive, light boxes getting paired to the wrong thing, interference, that kind of thing. So when you have SteamVR open, you just right-click on any of the icons there, and just hit Identify Controller. And I'm going to do that. And you can see on my controllers, when I do that, let's try that one more time. Come on, controllers. One of them will buzz and light up. So that's an easy way for you to identify which controllers it's pairing. That also can help if for some reason it's not pairing correctly. It can also make sure you're detecting the right lighthouses. The same thing if you identify base station, they just blink for a sec. I'm looking up there because that's where mine is. But yeah, so that's the identify feature. Really easy, but it can be pretty helpful, especially if you're in a room demoing with a bunch of Vives. All right, the next thing is the mirroring your display. Most games you don't have to do this because they output to a second camera. You've got the headset display and then you've got a desktop display. But not all games do this, and sometimes there's things inside the Vive that games don't output. You might want to capture a screenshot of or video of or something. So that's when the display mirroring comes in. You just left click on this guy and hit display mirror. Alright, so when you hit that display mirror, you're going to bring up this mirror feature, and it's going to show you the left eye and the right eye. In this main drop down, you can say, only show me the left eye, and you get a really crazy view here, or both eyes. You can take a screenshot, and I'm not sure what developer mode does. But anyway, most people leave it on both eyes, and you can output that, and that just gives you the double view. Here's the controllers dancing around. Now what this can do, this can show you a lot of things that happen inside the Vive that don't get output to that desktop display. So things like the Steam status window that shows up when you right click on the menu button, and that kind of thing, the controllers, something like that. So that's your display mirror, and I'm going to make use of that a lot in this video to show you these other features. Alright, the third one is during your room setup. A lot of people do a room setup once, never do it again, and they might have not known there's some tricks to it. So when you're running a room setup, let me bring this up here, and you're clicking room scale. Now, we click next here, and it's going to want to make sure it found all the controllers. Okay, did that. The first thing is pull and hold trigger, and it says point it at your monitor. Don't do that. What this does is wherever you point at, it establishes the forward position directly 180 degrees away from you. So what that's good is because you're tethered, right? And so they want the back of your head pointing towards your computer. That's the only reason that this setup is in here. So the back of your head is towards your computer, so the cable doesn't, is the minimum distance for the cable. If you make YouTube videos or you're having other people watch you play, they don't want to watch your butt the whole time. So what you want to do when it says locate your monitor, push and hold the trigger and do that, aim away. So I'm going to actually aim completely 180 degrees away from my monitor. That'll establish the forward position pointing at my monitor. And that makes better for YouTube and demoing and that kind of thing. On the next thing, when it says calibrate floor, when I got my Vive, this screen was broken and half the time the calibrate floor didn't even appear. So I had to close down SteamVR, launch it again. But when you do calibrate floor, it asks you to put your controllers on the ground. One thing some people do is they get a little bit, their floor is not perfect. If you take your Steam controllers and put them upside down, I've heard that helps. I haven't personally had any problems with my floor detecting off, but I have heard if you put your controllers upside down, your floor will be more accurate as to where it is. So that's that. I'm going to get out of here because I don't want to ruin the setup that I have. All right, so that's your first 3. Number 4 is we're going to go into the SteamVR settings. And in your settings under the General tab, you've got Enable Bluetooth Communication, and that is off by default. If you have Bluetooth on your computer, and I think you probably have to, make sure to turn this on. The best thing about it is this description here. When it is enabled, base stations can be wirelessly power managed that's a handful, and updated, and you can get alerts from your phone. So if you want to enable the phone feature where you can get your text messages or voicemail notifications, that kind of thing, incoming calls from your phone, you have to turn that on. Also, I've noticed with the base stations, the lighthouses, that they have a faint like hum, like, I don't know, you might be able to hear it in the video even, when they're on. And so whenever I wasn't using the Vive, like the 10 minutes I wasn't per day, I would unplug them. And I don't have to do this anymore once I turn this feature on. Right now, as soon as I close Steam VR, it will just power down the base stations and they'll go into standby mode, and it turns off the gyros so you don't hear that the chirp, like it's like a cricket almost, just constantly. So that's a really good setting. That should be on by default, I think, but it's probably not because they don't want to. I don't know why it's not. Anyway, all right. So the number 5 tip is in the settings menu again under audio. You're going to see there's a setting when Steam VR is active. Set the playback device, set the record device, and mirror audio. So that means whenever the Steam VR utility is running, you can have it automatically change your audio settings for your playback and record. So like right now, the HTC Vive has its own audio, and I use headphones when I'm in there. But the problem is it was always switching to that, and then when I turned the Vive off, it wouldn't switch back to my desktop headphones or my desktop speakers. So what I did is I said, when Steam VR is active, switch to the HTC Vive USB, and then when it's not, when it's exited, switch back to my speakers on my desktop. So that's really cool. The other thing is sometimes you have people over and you're doing like a LAN party or something. You want them to be able to hear that sound. So the other thing I've set up is I said, when Steam VR is active, mirror the audio that I hear in my headset to the speakers. You don't want to turn it up very loud, or then you kind of get a little bit of latency where you're hearing something and then half a second later your audience is hearing something and you can hear it too. So you can turn that on so everybody else can hear what you're hearing. Just don't do it too loud or get good noise cancellation, that kind of thing. So that's tip number 5. Okay, tip number 6. When you're in the camera settings, if you have a really good computer, I would suggest enabling the camera mode. It's a really cool feature. You have to enable it in here in the desktop mode, and then you have to go back in the Vive and set it up. So I'll show you that in just a second. But make sure you enable it, and you can choose between 30 and 60 hertz. There's not really a big point of turning your camera mode way up, because most of the time you're going to use this just to kind of look at your room without taking the headset off. And I'll explain that in a minute if you haven't seen the camera mode. It's also called Tron mode. But anyway, so we'll see that is, and it does give you a warning here that when you turn the setting on, you're going to lose a little bit of frame rate, or you might lose tracking altogether if your computer's not good enough. So make sure you're using a USB 3.0 port on your HDMI, and also make sure you have a really good computer and turn camera mode on. So I'm going to show you the rest of the camera tip inside the Vive. I'll be right back. Okay guys, here we are. You can see me, and you can also see the mirrored display. So this is what the normal room looks like when you come in. And if you hit this button here, underneath the thumb pad, this guy here, it brings up the menu. And you've probably seen this. That's how you get to the Steam launcher. You can see your desktop or the Vive launcher. But when you have the camera mode enabled, you get this button down here called Room View. You also, well, let's go look at that. Whoa. I think it defaults to blue. I've changed mine to red. But you can see in my doorway over there. You can even see my hand. You can see the couch. Probably see what I ate for lunch down there. Let's get out of here. So what I wanted to show you, if we go into settings and then camera, you've got the camera settings. So you can enable the camera in the dashboard, and what that is, when you turn that on, is you see right here on my controller, I can actually see this around me. So if someone knocks on the door, I can turn this on and be like, what? Get out of here, I'm busy. So that's the enabled camera and dashboard, really helpful. That just provides this little picture-in-picture display here. Room view, that's what enables that guy down there, so you want to keep that enabled, and that allows you to get to room view. And then you've got use camera for chaperone bounds. If you turn that on, you can see I'm just in here in a normal room, but as soon as I get close to my chaperone bounds, it's actually going to put the chaperone up, but also switch to room view, so I actually can see, oh look, there's my projector that I always hit my controller against or something. So that's a pretty cool feature. So in addition to enabling the room view and turning it on for your chaperone bounds, you can change the color. So again, it defaults to something about here in the blues, but if you wanted to make it yellow, you could do that. If you want to make it kind of opaque or transparent, you can change that. I leave mine up all the way opaque so I can see things. But then we can go out of here and let's look at it. Yellow again. Get out of here. So now the room should be yellow. Whoa, that is freaky. Yeah, so probably the blue might be good, maybe green. Just find whatever's comfortable with you. All right, the next feature is something that is like plain as day, but most people don't know about. Now, when you look at your controllers, you can see them here, you can see them there. Down at the bottom, there's a battery display, and that's not actually on the physical controller. And that's one of the coolest things about this, is you can see that the one in my right hand is almost out of battery. One of my left hand's got 1 bar left, so I need to charge those. But right above them, everybody misses this. I demoed this to 60 people. I don't think a single person caught this. They kept flipping their hands like this, and they're like, which one do I hold? Especially like tilt brush. If you look right here on the controller, there's a right hand. It says right hand, left hand. Who would have thought? It's there. So if you're ever looking down and you're like about to play a game, you're like, I don't know which controller to pick up, like they're laying on the ground, you're like, I want my bow and arrow on my left hand. Well, there it is right there, left-handed. All right, for tip number 8, we're going to go back into settings and look at Chaperone here. And you can see there's a number of different options for the Chaperone. Now right now, remember, I've set the camera to be enabled whenever the Chaperone is enabled. That's why I'm seeing. All right, so I've turned that off now, so we just see the normal Chaperone. And this would appear anytime you get close to the walls. However, you can set it to beginner mode, which is the littlest squares, intermediate, which gets a little bit bigger, squares, which kind of just have these weird little square dots, advanced, which is like very few lines, and then there's developer, which is only the floor. I wouldn't suggest doing that unless you're the only one playing with your Vive and you really trust yourself. So that's the 4 modes there. I leave mine on beginner because I demo it for a lot of family and friends. So I want to make sure that thing is very visible, and that's why I make mine red and completely opaque, just so people see it. I don't want it transparent. That's no good at all. Make it opaque, make it red so people see it, maybe yellow, something really bright. The other thing that might be good, some games do a pretty poor job of showing you what your room space is. So turning floor bounds on always, it might not be a bad thing. If you can see, if we turn this, if we got it here now, the Chaperone is turned off because I'm nowhere close to the edge, but my floor boundary is clearly shown. That might ruin your immersion experience personally, but if you're demoing this for someone that's never done it before, you might want to give them that nice bounds. That way they see exactly where they can walk and they don't actually smack your controller or your headset into a wall. All right, guys, tip number 9 is in the in-headset settings. And this is what you see when no games are playing. This basically just, I don't know what it is. It's like a donut almost, with no hole in the middle. But anyway, so you can change how bright it is. You can make it really bright. You can make it really, oh, that's kind of funky. I don't like that at all. Dark. I like it right about here. But if you don't like this gray image, and remember, this is probably the first thing a lot of people are going to see when they put on a headset. If you haven't started the game up already, they're going to put the headset on and they're going to see this space, and they're going to be like, okay, well, this is kind of weird. This is not what I imagined VR to be. And then you start up a game and they'll be like amazed. But if you don't want them that, go in this image setting and you can actually put on different images. And so let's just look at a few. Ooh, beautiful sunset. Be aware that some of these make you feel like you're flying, so they could make a first-time person a little bit sick. This one is like desert with mountain background. We've got like clouds and space. Ooh, I like that one. That one's cool. And then we've got the sunset one. I wish the grid wasn't here. I don't know why that's there. Can I turn that off? If I do this. No, can't. All right. So some of them are going to display the grid, and I guess you can't get away from that. But nice little starry sky. But what's cool is you can actually browse the workshop, and people have put custom backgrounds, I guess, in here. So let's just find one. Let's go to this Dota 2 Radiant Day, and we'll just click on that one and subscribe to it. All right, so now if we get out of there, we come back to our in-headset settings, we can actually see that it's now appeared here, and we can turn it to there. So yeah, now here we are in the Dota 2 playfield. This is pretty cool. We're kind of right on the edge of the blue base, the blue core right behind us, and That's pretty sweet to be down here at this level. Cool. Okay guys, tip number 10. The final tip we've got for you today is the best one of all. It's called theater mode. A lot of people have heard about it, not many people know how it works. Basically, go into your Steam library inside the Vive. You can't do this from your desktop. Browse to any game that's not VR enabled and you'll see this play in theater. Click on that. Let's get a little launching thing. I've got to move it out of the way. But you can see we are now in this cool theater, which is a really cool little room. And here's our game. Now, if I had my Steam controller or my keyboard in front of me, I could actually play this game just like I was playing on my monitor, and now I've got this gigantic monitor. Now, there are a few other Steam apps that can do this, like Virtual Desktop, and there's another one coming out on Thursday called Big Screen. But there is basically inherent inside Steam, you can play any of your game library in here. So there you go. That's the theater mode, and it pretty much works with just about any game that you can play on your desktop. You can play inside the theater. Alright guys, that's going to do it for my top 10 features of the HTC Vive. If you've got any more that I did not cover, feel free to post them down in the comments below so we can help each other out. I'll also be posting this on Reddit, so go check out Reddit subreddit Vive, and you can upvote this post or go make comments there as well. Join the community. Help each other out. Let's make the virtual reality community for the Vive as amazing as it can be, and I'll look forward to seeing more from the developers and the games they create. Now, if you really liked this video, or if you didn't, please just hit that like button. You did watch it, and it really helped my channel out. Subscribe to see more HTC Vive content, and I'll see you guys next time for more virtual reality. It's been Fun X. Catch you later. Bye.